Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to my business educational platform. Remember in last lecture we have discussed about the key differences in bonds and stocks, and we discussed the characteristics of stock and preferred stock and common stock. Then we move forward to the valuation of preferred stock, and now we are going to move forward with the common stock valuation. So before taking too much time, let us discuss how we can value a common stock. So the basic dividend valuation model is used to value the common stocks. So I hope you remember that for preferred stock we only use the DP over VP, that is upon dividend divided by required rate of return. But here we will use the dividend valuation model to account for all the future dividends that will be gained in future. So how we can value a stock? We can simply value it by discounting all the dividends with the required rate of return. Then we will sum it up all. So here DIV represent the cash dividend at time T. RS represent the equity required return. So the rate of return that will be provided on the stock. So here we have the same formula with some adjustment. The basic dividend valuation model adjusted for the future stock sale. So if we will sell the future stock, then we will simply add up the sale price with dividend and we will discount it with the time period when it is sold. So here N represents the year in which the firm shares are expected to be sold, and price N represents the expected share price in year N. So dividend growth model accounts some variables where D naught represents the just paid dividend at the time 0 or today. Then we have the dividend 1 for the first year, R is required rate of return, and where D1 equal to D naught into 1 plus G. So if we want to find out the dividend in the first year, we will simply compound it with the today's dividend along with 1 plus G. So simply if we want to find out D2, simply we will multiply it D1 with 1 plus G. If we want to find out D51, then we will simply multiply D50 with 1 plus G. We will come to the D51. So dividend growth pattern assumptions, there exist the three types of pattern assumptions in valuation of common stock as we discussed in our previous lecture, that were about the zero growth model and the constant growth model and the growth in phases. So the dividend valuation model requires the forecast of all future dividends. The following dividend growth rate assumptions simplify the valuation process. So sometimes we have the constant dividend, sometimes we have the no growth dividends, and sometimes we have the dividends with the growth in phases. So here you see in first I have discussed the constant growth models graph, that is about 10%, 16% and 13%. It is increasing with the constant growth. Then we have the no growth formula, the no growth graph, that is about initially it increases, then decreases, then increases. So there seems like no growth in. And then we have the growth in phases. You see the third graph, there are a lot of shapes or curves, fluctuations. Sometimes it is expand, sometimes there seems recession. So it is known as the growth in phases. So we will discuss all the formulas with these growth assumptions of the dividend. So if we have the constant growth, then we will find out the valuation of stock using sum of all dividends by discounting with 1 plus required rate of return. And if we will sum up all, then we will simply come to an end the finding out the constant growth model formula. So it is also find it out using D1 divided by RS minus G. We will discuss it in our today's lecture. So it is simply find it out by P naught is find it out by D1 divided by RS minus G, where P naught represents the price of stock, D1 represents the dividend for the first year, RS represents the required rate of return, G represents the growth rate, and P1 represents the D2 RS minus G. If we want to find out P13, then we need the D14, and we will divide it with RS minus G. If we want to find out P price 50, simply we will need what we need D51. We will divide it with RS minus G. We will find out the price of 50. So I hope you understood the formula behind the constant growth model, or that is also known as the Jordan growth model. So now we have the growth that is variable. So what we will do, we will discount all the growths, and simply we will add the growth that become the constant. After that, sometimes the growth become constant, and then we will sum it up. Then we will come to an end of finding out the valuation of variable stock, growth stock, that is grows over the variability. Sometimes we have the expansion, sometimes we face the recessions. So here is the graph of the variable growth. You see, for first 3 years we have the 16% growth, and later on we had the growth changes to the 8%. So we will sum up for all 16% for 3 years. Then we will use the constant growth model formula for 8%. Then we will come to an end of price of stock, that is variable, or that's growth is variable or in phases. So I hope you understood the concepts behind the common stock valuation, that include the constant growth, zero growth, and the growth in phases. Still now, Allah Hafiz, see you in next lecture.